So we thought we'd try something different here and maybe do a little interview for you guys. Kind of like a podcast style video, trying something different, just to switch things up. We're at the Sideshow Guys headquarters here. This is in southeastern Ontario, where we spend most of our time hanging out, having some fun.
It's like AKA my garage.
It's actually Eric's garage, but we'll call it the headquarters.
We'll call it the headquarters. So I'm good with that.
We don't have the Honda Talon here, so we're using this players thing here as a backdrop. Just you guys.
Well, most of you guys probably like to look at that more than the Talon, anyways. I would imagine.
I think the Talon looks a little better, but it's not here right now, so
that's to be debated in the comments.
So we got the players as the backdrop, kind of as the wallpaper, because this new wrap here is kind of a little on the extreme side, like wallpaper. It's kind of like your grandma's house. You look at the wallpaper in your grandma's house and you think, wow, that is different.
I think it looks amazing.
It did add some serious color to the players instead of just the gray. It should show up on camera much, much better. I will give Eric credit for that.
And that was the goal. Like, I was watching the videos myself, and some of the comments were saying it was hard to see. So I said, you know what? I worked with somebody, Barrett Hepburn. I had a design. I had a picture that I saw, and I was like, make this for me. And this is what it turned out like. And I think it'll look really good on the videos. I don't know when this video is coming out. You might have already seen it on some of our trail rides, but if you haven't, I guarantee you this is going to be bright in some of our future trail ride videos.
So the players, I think, is going to start taking the lead, and the Honda is not going to be the first thing to try things now, because this players is going to stand out on video much better now. So I think the Honda Talon can kind of hang back a little bit, watch the players, maybe get some line ideas from them. But I am glad that we do have some more color for the videos. I do admit that the Honda Talon shows up very well in the videos versus some of the other machines. So now the players should be on par. Not as good, but on par with the Honda. But this video is more about getting to know our newest team member here, Eric, of the Sideshow Guys. So we're going to kind of do an interview with him here and see how he does. We're going to see if he passed the test or not. So Eric, how did you get into the side-by-sides?
Well, I think I've been riding for maybe 4 years. I think it was summer 2020. We're at the cottage right now, and there's a trail right that I can see right out my driveway here, and I used to hear the machines go by. And then it was 2020 summer, COVID started, and we just hear these machines. I was able to work from home. We were spending more time up here. And then I said to my wife, I think we need to get one of these machines or whatever. Like, everyone's bombing up and down the street. Look, trails, it looks like a great time.
So it was probably like snowmobiles. And it was probably winter time, but we'll let him continue with his story here.
So, I went on the interwebs there on the Google, and I searched around, and I found a CF Moto Z-Force 800, which I'll put a couple pictures of what it is here. You'll see the pictures here or here. Up in... not Perry Sound. What's the one up north? Perry Sound is here.
Owen Sound?
Oh, no. No. Perry Sound. Like Muskoka. What's that way?
Minden?
No. It starts with a Perry. No?
Perry Sound.
Anyway, and then what's the one by Scugog? What's that one called?
Port Perry.
Oh, yeah. So, sorry. So, it was Perry Sound. I can't remember the name of the place right now. Anyways, I texted the lady or I emailed them or whatever.
You can hear some machines going by right now probably that Eric got concerned about.
Yeah, I got hooked on that. So, honestly, beginning of COVID, it was the old model of the CF Moto Z-Force. We did a deal. It was during COVID. I honestly did the deal over email with the lady there. I gave her my credit card. I bought the machine. I went the next week, and I drove up there to Perry Sound, which was like a 3-hour drive for me, and I went and got it. I got there. It was a funny story, actually. I got there, and it was a rainy morning, and I tried to drive it on the trailer, and it wouldn't fit on the trailer because the tires were too wide. So I went inside, and I It's a family-owned business, and I'll put the link in the description. It's like Rosseau Motorsports is the name.
So we
of it.
talking like a brand new machine?
Sorry, yeah,
or
it was
a used machine?
No, it's brand new. I think it might have been 2018.
So you went all out then.
At that time, like I didn't know anymore.
You jumped in with like both feet, all out, brand new machine.
I've never driven a machine before. I didn't know anything about it. I never drove it. Never sat in it. I never sat in an off-road ATV or UTV or side-by-side. Like I sat in one maybe when I go drop my Sea-Doos over at Gateway. I sat in the machine there and I was like, oh, well, these are nice to have. But
what's Gateway sell?
Gateway sells Can-Am machines.
And you didn't buy a Can-Am even though you own Sea-Doos?
I didn't buy a Can-Am. So
what was the reason for the CF Moto?
Honestly, it was opportunity. We were sitting on the deck. We're like, what are we going to do all summer? It's COVID. We can't see anybody. We can't talk to anybody. We got to be by ourselves. What are we going to do?
Sounds like you should have stayed in the city instead of coming to the cottage.
Well, that was another reason why we came to the cottage, because in the city you couldn't do anything, couldn't go anywhere, everything was closed, so it was opportunity. So we went online, we bought the thing. I went over and got it. It was a rainy morning. I remember it very vividly. It wouldn't drive on the trailer. I was like, well, fudge, what am I going to do? I went inside, family business. The dad came out with a forklift, and he's like, no problem, I'll get it on the trailer for you. So he came behind. He lifted it up and he put it on the trailer. But I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to get this thing off the trailer when I get home? But that was another story.
I'd like to hear that story, but it sounds a bit. You went and bought a brand new CF Moto. There's a lot of people talk about CF Motos. I've heard good stories, bad stories. So what was your experience with CF Moto? Did it come off the trailer all right? You have to tear it apart to get it off the trailer?
So my trailer had pins. Like the reason why is the trailer had one lift gate, but it had the pins, and the pins came out, but they stuck out over the frame. And me not knowing off-road, I wasn't sure, and it was going to rub on the tires, going to rub on the pins. So at least when I got home, I pulled the pins out, I zip tied or strapped them, so it was all smooth rail, and I was able to put it in reverse, and I was able to smooth it out because I wasn't sure what I was going to do with those pins.
So you offloaded this in Markham, or?
I offloaded it here. I drove it straight here and offloaded it in my driveway, and I basically looked at it for a while because I wasn't even sure. I've never driven one, and I kind of offloaded it. I was here by myself. My wife was still in the city, and I just kind of looked at it, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool. This is a pretty cool machine to have." And
so where was your first ride? You went down the streets. Where's your first ride, and how'd that go?
I don't really remember the first ride, but obviously I must have taken it out on the trail right here. I have a trail that goes to two different towns, Hastings and Campbellford. So I probably took it out here, and I think I burned up and down the trail. And I don't know, for the first ride of the machine, I thought it was great. I was like, this is perfect for us. I'm like, we're good.
So really, it's just a rail trail that goes by where we are at. It's nothing too extreme, but it's probably pretty good for a CF Moto first ride. Give it some break-in time. So after a few trips on the rail trail, how'd things go after that?
So again, I was very new to this off-road business, right? I really didn't know too much about it, and I came in very people call me a city slicker. We came in here, didn't know too much. So I was on the Facebook and stuff like that, and we found a bunch of different groups on Facebook, and we connected to a bunch of other people. So we connected to this one group on Facebook. So we decided to go. I think I went on the first ride. So I went on a first ride, and we went to this Lingham Lake area. You probably saw one of our other videos where Lingham Lake. It's just I don't know why I go there. It's always punishment. Every time I go there, it's never a good time. So anyways, we went out there.
Lingham Lake is like a local area to us. A lot of good times there, a lot of fun there. If you take the right lines, and line choice is very key to get into the lake and back out of the lake without any issues. Usually if you're driving a Honda, you don't have issues, but apparently maybe Eric has a few stories about Lingham Lake. Maybe share that later in another video, but we're trying to just get to know Eric here and his first machine, his CF Moto, which I'm kind of surprised because I've heard good and bad about CF Moto. So I'm kind of curious to how his experiences were. This is all before I knew Eric, and I got him more on track with a better machine and stuff. But we'll let him continue with his story and how he made it with his CF Moto.
Honestly, it did me well for the first ride. We took it, and I had its, it was on its side maybe a little bit. You know, the biggest thing was the ground clearance. We struggled with the ground clearance. Like, I'm not a light person. Me and my wife in it, 2 people. We loaded it up. I went on YouTube. I Googled all these different supplies that I needed. I had every supply you can think of in the back of that thing, and I really was down on the clearance. So we were struggling with the height, and I was going online. I bought springs, and I bought lift pucks, and I bought a whole bunch. I bought wheel spacers. I put a whole bunch of stuff on that. So, it did us good for the first ride. And I probably took it on a lot of trails that maybe it was a little bit more for the machine that it could take. But I took it up north. We took it all the way up north to Mattawa, which is a few hour drive north. It's got a lot of trails up there. We took it everywhere. It always made it back home on its own power. But it did run into quite a few mechanical problems. The warranty really stood out. The dealer that I took it to, he always stood behind the machine. I had it for 2 years, 2 seasons, I guess, for us. The second season, it really took its toll. I can't remember how many kilometers I had on it at that point, maybe 3,000, but I guess that's quite a bit. And that winter, that's when I think the second season is when I met Derek on a couple rides, where you probably can attest that it was probably at its max capacity. The capabilities, I guess, is better words.
He seemed to have hit Amazon pretty hard with his upgrades and stuff. But
yeah,
the CF Moto had served him well. He was starting to get into more of the technical riding and stuff, and he needed a little more ground clearance and stuff. We seen him on a few rides and whatnot. Got to know who he was, him and his wife Susan. And we seen him, like, he always made it through things, but he dragged the skid plate here or there, and maybe rubbed a fender flare on a tree here and there. But I was quite impressed with his driving skills in the CF Moto. I kept waiting for it to break down, and I was always willing to tow him out, but it always made it out at the end of the day, back to the trucks to load up.
It did. We did obviously have some breakdowns on the trails and stuff like that. I think one time, the fan stopped working and it kept overheating. We realized that, it was a fuse, but we had no signal. And I think a buddy of ours on a ride had to walk up the trail to Google it because I didn't put the manual in the machine. So we had no idea where the fuse panel was. It was comical. And, I could put a couple clips in here if you guys want to see, or if you want to see what some of those videos look like, just put it in the comments. I'm happy to post some of those. But it was good. It was a blue machine. I did it up nice. I put a nice set of whip lights on it. It looked nice that way. And I raised it up. I think I got a whole 11 inches out of it maybe when I was done with it. But it reached my capacity and its capabilities. As I got more experience and I understood what the trails looked like, and I wanted to do more things, I had more experience. It was time to say goodbye to the CF Moto and look for something else.
So what was the deciding factor on letting go of the CF Moto and your next purchase? What led you to that?
So to be honest, what the deciding factor was it was the end of the season, and I had it in the shop for more warranty work, and they had to change axles and bearings and bushings and I'm not a mechanical guy, so I had it in there, and they had changed everything in the fall after kind of my last ride. So it sat in the garage all winter, pretty much all brand new in my opinion. It had fresh oil changes and all that. And I said to my wife, listen, I don't want to start driving this and then trying to sell it and it's half apart. So that was the biggest key factor. As in the spring I said, let's put it for sale. And at that point all winter long I was Googling different machines, and I saw different things and was watching other YouTube channels, and I was like, this is the machine that I want. It wasn't any of the machines that I seen that we rode with. It wasn't a machine that I've driven. It was just from watching videos and doing some research. I'm like, this is the machine I want.
Which is what? What was the machine?
It was the Polaris RZR Pro XP. And I actually rode in a buddy's Razor 1000 because my machine was broken that season. It was down at the shop, and I was passenger, and I was like, this is the greatest machine ever. I was like, this is amazing. So
if only he'd rode in a Honda Talon, this would be like a totally different outcome. But
the opportunity was there, and maybe it would have been turned out different if I would have ridden in a passenger in the Talon. Things may have been different today, but so all winter long I looked. Again, it was COVID. I couldn't order one at the dealer. I went to the dealer to try to get one, and he's like, "Oh, I can put you on a list, but you're like 100 people down or whatever. Try to get on one." And I was like, "Okay, well, I'm on the list anyways to order one. Not even to get one, just to order one."
Sounds like there's a part shortage of building these players, but they're
because
still held in there to get one, I guess.
I think it's because they were so popular, but hey, that's somebody else's opinion.
I guess we can debate that online here.
So I went to the interwebs there, went to Google, went to the internet, went to the Facebook Marketplace. We all know Facebook Marketplace. And then I started Googling what I wanted.
Sounds like he's looking for any sort of players deal he could get. But,
Razor Pro XP, I Googled it. Oh, the list was long. Like I put in, hundreds of kilometers from where I am, and I started looking. And then they're not cheap machines, so we were looking for something that was low kilometers, was decent. Anyways, honestly, long story short, I found one not far from me, a couple hours up north. I think this was March. Still snow on the ground. It was cold. I remember 2 hours we went up. Susan and I went up, drove. We looked at it. It was this machine. He had a plow on the front of it. That's kind of a bonus for me in the cottage here with the driveways that we have. It was only had a few thousand kilometers on it. It still had extended warranty for 5 years. Blah 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 blah. So anyways, we left. Anyways, long story short, we ended up buying the machine from him, and that's where we are now.
I felt sorry for him ever since that he bought a Polaris, but thank God for that extended warranty. I think he's used it a couple times. Not anything major.
No, I didn't use it at all yet. I tried, but nothing was covered with it so far. But it's got the extended warranty. It still has it for another year, but. The thing, it's fine. Any damage, anything that's happened to it is self-inflicted at this point.
So how do you compare this to the CF Moto?
Wow.
Was it a step up or a step down?
No, it was a step up. Like, if anyone knows, this is a Polaris Pro XP with the ultimate package. It's got the ride command. It's got the dynamics, suspension, and that's what we wanted. From driving the previous one, it was like there was zero suspension in it. And I said, like, we can't be driving and smashing on everything. Like, it was, after we finished a ride in the CF Moto, it was like, our bodies were destroyed. And I think we were taking it more than where it could handle. Like, it was good for some rail trails here and there, but,
It sounds like you should have stuck to the Yamaha trails.
Yeah, like the trails that Yamaha usually rides on, like the rail trails, some of the driveways that they go to get ice cream and the chip trucks and stuff like that. It's pretty smooth rides, but that's not really where we were riding. And I always want to challenge myself. I like a little bit of rock crawling and stuff like that. I like to get up those big hills. And with the CF Moto, I don't think it was a power issue. I never had any power issues. The only issue I had was it struggled with ground clearance and suspension travel. And that's where it kind of it lacked a little bit. But
so you're saying the CF Moto lacked power. So why'd you go 1,000 with turbo?
No, it said it.
Why did you need to step up so far?
I said it did lack power. I just said it lacked like ground clearance and suspension.
But why did you need to step the power up so much?
The fact that this thing had a turbo was just kind of a bonus. I was looking for something that had the biggest travel, the suspension travel, and the highest ground clearance, and like the most comfortable ride. At that point, that's what I was looking for.
So you went from the C-Force...
Z-Force?
No.
Yes.
You went to the CF Moto, probably making, 80, 90 horsepower. What's this Polaris make?
It makes 192 horsepower.
Do you think you're ready for 192 horsepower? I think you'd probably take the turbo off this and buy a non-turbo Polaris and would have been fine, but oh no. Somebody had to go for the horsepower king, I think.
I probably could have went with a naturally aspirated machine, which would I think be the XP 1000, or I think it's just a Razor Pro without the XP on the end of it for the turbo. But again, I wasn't buying it new at the dealership. I was buying it new. I was on the web. I was still very inexperienced. My knowledge was limited, and I was just trying to enter in the sport. And the way I do it is, I figured, well, I'll just go to the top of the line and I'll buy it, and I should be good for a while.
So you're like shopping for horsepower and lacking experience. Sounds like a good idea to me too.
Well, at least I had that behind. At least I know I had the horsepower to get me out of trouble.
Every time we ride together now, he keeps going on about this turbo. And what sounds it make?
But I don't have that little, what do they call that thing?
Blow-off valve?
Blow-off valve. My blow-off valve is just factory. It doesn't make any sound. So in my mind, every time I pass by everybody or someone wants to race me and I'm in front, I just go in my mind.
So if you go back in some of the older videos, there's a channel called Commander Outdoors. Was that what it was? Commander Outdoors. We rode with Damien on that channel there, and I think that's how Eric and I got to know each other, from riding together on some of those rides that Damien put on. He's moved on down to the East Coast now, but that's how Eric and I met up, and we started hang out and talk a little bit. And then from there, it was the end of the riding season. I think snowmobile season kicked in, and I think Eric was on a, I hate to say this too though, but I think he owned a Polaris snowmobile. Sad to say that, but he's hung up on these Polarises here. So we invited Eric out on a few rides on his Polaris snowmobile, and we'll get his take on how some of those went.
Again, it was winter COVID, and we were up here for some time, so we saw a bunch of snowmobiles running the trail, and I'm like, well, if we're going to be up here, we might as well get a snowmobile. So, we're on Facebook Marketplace. I called my neighbor up. I said, let's go get the snowmobile. So we drove down to Coburg, an hour away, and picked up the snowmobile that came from the East Coast. And again, we went with a bunch of guys. And
what kind of snowmobile is it? Polaris Legend?
It was.
Is it a Legend?
It's not a Legend.
I thought it was a Polaris Legend.
No, it's not a Legend. It's like a 3-seater. Is it 3-seater? 1, 2.
Maybe it's an Expedition.
No, 2-seater. It's not an Expedition. I don't remember what it's called right now, but it's
all I know
it's
is
red, almost red, like a Honda Red.
It's got a rack on the back for extra gas or spare parts or something.
It had a basket in the back, and it had a 2-seater, and it had like a seat. So it's like it's a permanent 2-seater machine, and we were looking for me and the wife to ride. So we got it, and I took it on the first ride. Again, I've never snowmobiled before. Like maybe like when I was in the teens with the kids in the field and my buddies.
So needless to say, the rest of us that we snowmobile in this kind of area here, we ride a 1200 Grand Touring, a 600 Rev, which I think is an 04 or 05, and I got a 2020 850 Renegade. So we invited Eric out on his older Polaris, see if he'd maybe tag along and bring up the rear and stuff, maybe make some content for us. I'm sure if you look back on the channel, you'll see some of that footage and stuff. Some of it's a little better than others. So after a season of that and getting Eric out on a few rides, we did finally get him to upgrade from a Polaris. He hasn't upgraded the side-by-side yet, but he did upgrade the Polaris sled. He still has it for a backup. As you can see a video from before, we landed out to Mr. Don Baker for an afternoon. Again, you can probably see some of that video content on our channel. So Eric, what do you got now for a sled?
I got a 2021 or 22. I mean, I forget the year. I think it's the 22.
I think it's 22.
It's a 22. It's new to me again. I went on the marketplace, found it. It's a Skidoo MXZ. What model was it?
600 MXZ?
Oh, yeah, 600 MXZ.
Why didn't you buy a Polaris? If you're such a Polaris believer, why didn't you stick with the Polaris? They make some good sleds, I hear.
Honestly, I didn't want something too powerful like this. The Polaris I have is a 600, and it's fast enough. It's an older one. I didn't want to get something the bigger ones. Again, just riding around with the guys and stuff like that. So this one came out. This was a good deal. I negotiated with the guy and I pulled the trigger on it.
So you're not very brand loyal then, by the sounds of it. You just drive anything that's the right deal.
Well, that's kind of a tough question. You know,
Does it come down to price, or does it come down to like brand loyal? I stick behind my brand. My brand's the best.
I think,
or is it price point?
I don't know about snowmobiles. I think snowmobiles are a different class.
They both have rubber bands.
Well, they do have rubber bands, but they didn't make a Honda snowmobile, do they?
No, they're smart enough to stay with that. Season's too short.
Yeah, so there was definitely no Honda snowmobiles, and the Polaris, I don't know if they made a good 600. And I doing a lot of research, and I think the Skidoo, everybody knows Skidoo. Skidoo's like where it started. So I was like, I have a couple of Sea-Doos, and they've been pretty reliable for me. So I was like, you know what? Why don't I try something different? Because you never know in the future, maybe change it up a bit.
I think a Honda Talon will be his next change after driving this Polaris and seeing what the Honda Talon will do.
Well, I may need to trade in my daily driver for a Civic first just to try it out and see how it rides.
That'd be a smart move too, though. You'd save probably a lot of money on fuel. So for Eric and I, like I said, we did a few rides together with Damien, Outdoor Commander, and then we started to talk a little more online on Facebook, social media and stuff, and then I think our first real hangout and getting together was riding sleds together. We went from a Polaris to a Skidoo. We got him to upgrade to a Skidoo so he kind of keep up with the rest of us, and he's learned a lot over the last year or so. And then that led to more riding together in the summer in the side-by-sides, and I think that's enough for this video. We're just trying to get you guys to get to know myself and Eric a little better here, understand where we came from and how we came together on this channel. So what's your take on things, Eric?
You know, I got a lot of other stories that we can talk about, and I think my first ride with you, I might have been in jeans, or maybe you saw me on the side, rolled over in the ditch or something. So we got a few more stories to tell, but I'm happy to be here, part of this channel, and I'm happy to have met Derek, and he's given me a lot of advice and a lot of help and stuff like that. So I think together we're trying to put out some real life content for you guys, and trying to use the toys that we have that we have right now, and give you a different perspective on a couple different brands and stuff like that. And in our video, you'll see a bunch of different brands. I think we ride with a lot of other people. You see some Yamaha, some Can-Ams, and stuff like that. And we got a few other toys stored here around the garage that we're hoping to sprinkle throughout the channel. And it may not be all what you guys like, but maybe some of you will like it and not like it. But we just want you guys to get to know me, get to know you guys, kind of know who Derek is, and that's basically it. We're just a bunch of guys. I come from the city. I drive up to the cottage. I ride around here, and Derek kind of hangs around in this area too. And we're just hoping to provide you guys with some entertainment. That's where we're at.
So stay tuned to this channel. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like this video and this kind of content, we'll continue to make some more of it throughout the year. Leave a comment, a like, subscribe to the channel, tell anybody you know that might be interested in this channel to subscribe, and give us some video ideas. We'll always respond in the comments, and we'll take the opinions, and maybe we'll come up with a different video idea here, and we'll make it happen. So thanks for watching, and give us a thumbs up, and we'll see you on the next video.